When Indian people like product managers or aspiring product managers try to land visa-sponsored jobs in Europe, they focus entirely on hard metrics framework, but the harsh reality of international product management is very different. Data only gets you through the door, but to survive in a high-stakes place like Germany or Europe, it is not your SQL skills that will take you far away. It would be your emotional quotient that will take you far away. So this podcast is dedicated for understanding the human psychology along with the product management skills. We are going to cover an example when the data will say right, but your intuition says goes left. At the time, what you have to choose and how are you going to leverage your emotional quotient to manage very difficult stakeholders, which is a very common problem in product management. So all these things we are going to discuss in our today's podcast. So today's guest is Amit Tiwari. He is a product manager based out of Germany. He landed a visa-sponsored job in Germany a few years back. So he's going to explain each and everything to you, how you can get that job as well. Plus, he's also going to share how you can leverage your high emotional quotient. He's going to break down the frameworks which you can apply and handle all the difficult stakeholders and how we used to interact with the international engineering team and other dependent stakeholders. So he's going to explain each everything. So without wasting your time, let's get started. If you're new to my channel, then click on the subscribe button. A lot of informative content is coming on and you don't have to miss out that.
How did you land a job in Germany while working in India?
Yeah, the process is a little easier for me. It was, I think, in the back after the Corona days, I started applying through LinkedIn for German companies. But then eventually I found out companies prefer candidates who directly apply from their page. So I think LinkedIn is a good platform to identify the companies which are hiring from India and are able to sponsor your visit and your visa there. But yeah, it's a good idea to not only directly apply from LinkedIn, but also apply from the company sites. And there are quite a lot of companies here which has a lot of people working from India, from different countries. And I think it's always a worth try to actually apply on their website itself. So
and for our audience, what would be that one challenge that you can share with them, which most of the job seekers face who actually want to migrate to other countries or they want to get a remote job?
That's a good question because I think it depends a lot on how the country's work culture is built up. So I can say for Germany because I wanted to come to Germany and so just applied here. So in Germany, it's generally a very good practice to not just include your resume when you are applying, but also have a cover letter which is specifically tailored for the company. It's not, you do not want it to be a generic ChatGPT version. You want it to align with company and tell them that why you should hire me. So for example, if you have, so I am working in product. So now I need to give them an overview as to why I am good for your product, what changes can I bring to your product from my experience, and how can I build, trust with the team. So that's also very important aspect, that you not only highlight your hard skills, but also you tell them why you are a fit for their culture. So that is something which recruiters really appreciate in you if you try to also link with the company's values.
Okay, cool. So Germany has a very specific corporate culture because it is a massive tech hub. So what was that one thing that surprised you the most about the professional culture in Germany as compared to home country India?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little challenging when you move from India because in India normally you are used to work on your own and like you're basically working as an individual contributor, and plus we are more of a service based economy and the companies are mostly serving to clients abroad. Here you are directly serving the German customers and you're dealing with German people. So it's very important for the companies here that you are a very trustable personality and you basically own it once you do something. So in India, when I was working, I used to report to someone and then basically, furnish numbers or findings to somebody. But here you are supposed to do that part of stakeholder management. You need to have a connect with people. You need to let them informed of everything that you are doing, your expected timeline, what will you be working on and everything. So this is a little different in India where you just have a ticket and you basically work on it. So you have to do a lot of, irrespective of the role you are in. Of course, if you are in a product role, you will have to do a lot of stakeholder management, and it's very extensive here. Sometimes it feels a little overwhelming also at times. But then, yeah, that's a very important aspect, and they value that you work with the people, not just alone on the job. So even if your description says you are an individual contributor, it does not necessarily mean that you are an individual contributor.
Right. I think that's a great insight. So one question that every job seeker has is, if I want to move to Germany, so to land any job or like with the visa sponsorship, so is it important that a person should always know German, or they should learn before even they start to apply, or fluent in English is enough, like in hubs like Berlin, Munich or Frankfurt?
Yeah, it's a fair question, I would say. So I think you need to definitely know and land a role in English, because the native German jobs that are there, they are probably above the level of B2 and C1. So it's a little difficult to get into that. In English speaking jobs, yes, there are good opportunities here, especially in the hubs that you mentioned. But then the competition accordingly is also quite high. So I would say what distinguishes one while applying for these jobs is really learning the language. And when you say the language, I would say at least up to the level of B1 or B2 before you start even applying for it. The reason for that is the companies, they will still function in English, they'll do everything in English. But then that sort of connect that you have with the team, like I mentioned, right? So trust is very important for them. And if you understand the language, if you can speak basic phrases, it's very, it to them, it signals a lot of, a signal that they can trust you, they can work with you, you can handle most of the customers if needed. And that's also important. And obviously it's also a life skill, right? I mean, to navigate in Germany, you cannot just do your job, you will need to go out and talk to people. So it's a good skill generally to learn the language before you even start applying for a job.
That's a good point. Yeah. So since we just talk about the visa sponsorship part, so do you think there is a specific path that people should follow while looking for visa sponsorship jobs in Germany?
So there are right now the conditions, I think, with this Germany emphasizing a lot on relations with India, and also I think the German chancellor was also in India, I think recently. What they have started specifically is like since they want a lot of talent from India, and it's a talent shortage here. But I think there are two major pathways to get a job. One is you directly apply to a company, and if the company finds you a good fit, they will sponsor your visa, which is called Blue Card here.
Okay.
But the other way also to get an entry into the German job market is looking for the job seeker visa. And but yeah, I think the reviews for the job seeker visa are quite mixed. You have to be here to apply to companies, and some companies are not, like, to face it, let's say companies are not even aware of such visa exists. So you have to do a lot of things, and you have to really prove it that you want
You're
to work
the one.
here. Yeah, so I would say you have both conditions with you. The other one, the job seeker visa, is not sponsored. That's the only issue. But yeah, you can nevertheless, I have seen people landing a job with job seeker visa as well. But yeah, direct sponsorship is still the best part.
Cool. Okay, so now I'm just thinking one thing, that since you work in product, so I've been connected with Amit from a long time. So this is for audience that we connected on LinkedIn. I saw his post, and he posts really good content about emotional quotient. But since Amit works in product, so I would really like to understand, the product job basically revolves around hard numbers, metrics, or some data patterns, or like whatever opportunities we have to identify as a product manager. But the content, Amit, that you post is majorly around the emotional quotient. So how do you bridge that gap between cool and raw data, and then human emotion in product development, basically?
Yeah, that's a very valid question, considering the stuff that I post is mostly revolving around momentum and emotional quotient and all these things, right? And yeah, it's difficult when you're working with numbers mostly. How do you bridge that gap? So yeah, I think the answer is quite simple if you think of it. So when you are in a product role, you have to work with at one level with users that are using your product. If you're let's say if you're building an app or a feature on an app or anything or a fintech product, you have to think of the user in his shoes. So in product management we talk about flows, right? So we talk about the first level or the top part of the funnel, where you basically do a messaging where you bring the user to the feature and then you take him along that flow. So in order to retain the user in the flow, you need to understand what is the user wanting from your product. And it's
Right.
very important to understand the user not only from a UX perspective. Obviously there will be user comments or user reviews that you would be looking at, but also looking at the psychology and the emotions of why a user wants to
Mhm.
interact with your product. And sometimes there are some questions which cannot be answered by the data alone. So for example, let's say we say which part of user journey is the user on, but then we have to identify which type of emotions. So for example, if he's on the top of the funnel, he's probably
Yeah.
not that interested in your data.
Hmm.
But so then you will have to like emotionally appeal to him
Understand.
that
Yeah.
okay, you start
Hmm.
using the data. And once the user is in the flow, you kind of want to make that it's not distractive for him. It's
Hmm.
a easy flowing flow. So that's one part of it. The other part is obviously when you work with teams, and within product team there is, as you mentioned, there is a massive stakeholder management.
Yeah.
You need to understand every stakeholder. You need to have, so in Germany they call it the coffee chat culture. So you
Okay.
need to build that informal rapport with
Hmm.
stakeholders, really talk to them, meet them, and build this personal rapport with them, so that when you're doing your job, you can understand where the person will be coming from.
Hmm.
And then you can basically uh, try to engage with the developers, with the UX designers, with other product managers who would be the stakeholders, and so on and so forth. So it's really important to, in short, to answer you, it's really important to have that sort of emotional thing. And I
Hmm.
felt that it was sort of something which was not really emphasized on a product
Hmm.
platform. So then I
Agreed.
started
Yeah.
to like focus on it
Yep.
on
Yep.
LinkedIn.
I think that's the one big reason, Amit, why I like your content on LinkedIn, because understanding our stakeholders' emotions and what they can speak from, where they come from, is very important in product management aspect. So for our audience, people who want to understand how the core product management principles work, you have to understand how your user will react to a certain feature, how your user is going to react when you show something to them. Are they going to accept it or reject it? I've seen certain instances, since we both work with people who, with applications who have millions of customers. So that is one big reason why we are able to, like, either successfully deliver a feature or we become a failure, because we are not understanding our users properly. So emotional quotient is that one core principle which is very underrated in product development or product management. And this is the one biggest reason many PMs can succeed if they are understanding their users properly. So I really like, I think you can also follow Amit on LinkedIn. I am sharing his link in the description. So go and check it out, his content. You will understand why product managers should learn about EQ, so that you can clearly understand as a product manager how you have to do that big stakeholder management and how you have to understand your users. So I think that's a really, really good point, Amit, that you have shared. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now,
Thanks,
there are,
Rupinder. Thanks a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. Now there are a lot of instances when it happens that, since I also work with a, big set of customers, so I also try to tend to understand like how users are reacting to certain things. But sometimes it happens that the data says go right, okay, but the EQ and, my thinking says no, go left. So have you ever encountered these kind of instances, and how did it turn out for you?
Yes. So, yeah, this is again a trade-off of the job we are in, right? I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
users. Let's take a very simple example. Let's say you roll out an A/B test, right?
Hmm.
And you test your feature, and you feel that okay, there are some core metrics, and then there are some North Star metrics,
Hmm.
and none of them actually shows a sort of change. Like of course your core metrics are not impacted badly, but even then your North Star metric or the main metric which you wanted to move with the experiment did not move. Now here lies the tricky part. It seems that the experiment was not successful enough to be rolled out because your metrics
Hmm.
didn't move. But sometimes you have to take a bold bet, because that feature you would have developed, but you would have developed through lots of cycles of iterations, thinking about the user, why it would be useful for the user itself. So then in those cases I have actually made those decisions to roll out these products, because then it makes more sense for the users to comfortably interact with the product, even though the experiment was not something which was impacted in any metric, or it did not show any uplift.
Hmm.
So in those cases it becomes very important how do you decide, and you have to be very bold, right? Because experimentation is not a cheap process. It takes quite a lot of resources from your team. It's monetarily heavy on you, and then you have to decide, like, in the end you cannot say it's a dead feature. So in those cases, emotions, dealing with the emotional intelligence becomes very important in that part. So yeah, that has helped me, I think, in taking a lot of decisions.
Right, right. Cool. So I think in product management, what we usually see is there are certain instances where our stakeholders don't want to hear certain aspects. So as a product guy, how do you balance that? How does emotional quotient help you in delivering those kind of results or, answers that the stakeholders don't want to hear? So how do you go about it?
Yeah, that's also kind of a tricky question, I would say. So, yeah, dealing with stakeholders in product management is absolutely, it's a non-negotiable, right?
Yeah, and it's a skill
And
also. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And what you need to actually do there is, like for example, in Germany, it's I would say it's not easy,
Hmm.
but it's like you first develop a personal rapport with these stakeholders, if that's possible.
Hmm.
If that is not possible, probably try to understand where a stakeholder comes from. So every stakeholder is trying to solve a user problem, and then they're also trying to solve a position problem where they are in. So a particular stakeholder may have, let's say, finance considerations,
Hmm.
or the particular stakeholder may have, let's say, some engineering constraints. So you really need to understand those things, and then talk to them about those issues.
Hmm.
I think it does not need to be a generic call where you involve all the stakeholders, but it needs to be a specific one-on-one call with the stakeholder where you try to understand
Got it.
and give them an impression that yes, you are trying to understand. Maybe you don't have enough context, and once you find out the context, don't just say that, okay, you do what you want, this is the company decision, I will stick by it. Don't take it like that way.
Hmm.
Try to find a common solution with the engineering team, try to involve other people, and that needs some heavy lifting to be done from
Right.
your side. so
Correct.
so make sure and be prepared to do that hard work if you have a difficult stakeholder. But
Hmm.
I think if you regularly interact and give them enough context, I think it will be really nice to have a product,
Hmm.
and in the end everyone's happy.
Yeah. Right. Right. Amazing. Yeah. Cool. So one last thing before we close this. So since you moved to Germany and specifically into this product management domain, so leaving that network behind, and like what should be that one psychological safety or a solid emotional support structure that a person has to start in a new country? So now applying your concept of EQ here plus applying your concepts of similarly product management, like how would you advise our audience to go about it if they are really looking to move to a new place and after leaving their home country?
Yeah, it's also a very uh, tough question, and also a very question that stays with everyone who is from the
Hmm.
expat community, I would say. So in the beginning, I think one has to really understand the reason for their moving to a different country. For me, it was Germany. And then you also need to understand what are the things that keeps you sane, because in the initially you will be initial times you will be alone, and there will be very challenging moments, and especially dealing with a different country which does not speak English, and
Hmm.
also has a sort of a different office culture, a different public offices culture. You will have to really struggle it out in the beginning. But I think what really helps is understanding your life from the sense of things that gives you comfort or gives you momentum to move ahead in life. So for example, in my image, you can see me in front of the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. So
Okay.
one of the good things that I used to do was running, and I took that hobby with me when I came to Germany. You had cleaner roads, you had pavements, which you cannot
Hmm.
find in Bangalore for sure.
Yeah.
I've been running in Bangalore also, but on the roads.
Hmm.
But then you need to find really, something which really suits you. You need to find something to move forward. So, for example, I was trying to learn German language on my own, and that was also a good experience in itself. And then I started slowly developing the confidence to talk to locals, talk to people,
Hmm.
join communities. I think Germans really appreciate if you approach them proactively, give them something they want, and
Hmm.
also proactively tell them that, okay, this is something that I would want from you now.
Hmm.
So that helps really, taking that effort to talk to people, and also learning the language is also something which gives you confidence.
Very
So
common.
basically anything that gives you confidence, moves forward or moves your day, it's very important. Otherwise it's a harsh word, I would say,
Hmm.
and you would be left behind somewhere in the race if you really don't find
Yep.
ways to
Yep.
move forward.
Right, right. Okay. And you mentioned LinkedIn is one portal where people can actually see which companies are hiring, and any other specific job portals that you can recommend to our audience they should start looking for, where they can get all the visa sponsorship jobs basically in Germany or like a wider
Yeah.
area of Europe.
So unfortunately, they don't have like a specific platform other than LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
There are platforms which are specific to the country, but you cannot access them from
Oh,
India.
right.
There are platforms like Stepstone, and I think there are a few other uh, Zing or some platforms like this in Germany itself. Which, if you have VPN, you can access. Maybe I'm not sure about if you can access in India,
Mm-hmm.
but then I think LinkedIn is, I would take it as a two-part process. I would say first identify companies on LinkedIn which are specifically looking for talents from abroad, or maybe they are sponsoring, and then really not just applying through LinkedIn but actually going on their website, because then it shows that you took an extra effort to directly apply on the platform and you're
Right,
really interested. So that
right.
is one thing. I think also with respect to remote jobs, I think you can still find them, but Europe has a very strong GDPR, which is the Data Protection Act,
Hmm.
and usually they would
Right.
not want someone who's not within their jurisdiction to handle their data.
Hmm.
So I would say you can still find. I frankly I haven't really looked into that aspect a lot,
Hmm.
but then you can still find freelance jobs on LinkedIn as well. There are people who
Got
do
it.
it in Germany, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you can really do them from India to those
India.
concerns that I
Hmm.
mentioned.
Okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, makes sense. So thank you so much, Amit, for your time. And I'm also learning a lot from your LinkedIn content. So I really love it because I can directly relate to it since also working in product, and EQ helps a lot me to, connect with the stakeholders and, like talk with them and understand them actually. So I think that's a really, really, those are really insightful posts. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing those every day.
No worries. The pleasure is mine, and I think EQ was something that connected us also, and that's why we are having this call
Yeah.
today. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's always good to connect with people like
Yep. Yep.
you who are motivated.
Cool.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Rupinder, for
Thank you,
this.
Amit.